Time is now 6 o'clock. We're going to get started. Welcome everybody to the June 9th school committee meeting. Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is to the left of myself and to your right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a point of conduct, if anybody is recording this meeting, please let us know for the record. First meeting agenda item is the vote to approve the meeting minutes of the May 26th open session. Has everybody had a chance to read those?
Yes.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Nope.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So,
There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mrs. Cohen?
I wasn't here, so I have to abstain, correct?
Yes. Yep. So we have 401. Yep. All right, the next agenda item is the warrants. I'd like to enter into the public record that I have approved school expense warrant dated June 2nd, $394,145.58. School payroll warrant also June 2nd, $1,244,879.42. Next item is the student representative update. Ms. Sabas.
So I am no longer solo, this is my new co-representative, and he's going to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Tony Romano. I'm 9th grade going to 10th, and I'm excited to be here.
Okay, that's much detail. Perfect.
I am pretty much here to make sure that every student's voice is being heard through this committee. That's it.
Well,
It's nice to have you at the table, Malia.
Oh, yeah.
We've only seen you on TV this year.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of what we have you guys today. I thought about it, Tony, and just kind of get into it a little bit before we go right back into the updates. So, yeah, excited to start as a team.
It's great.
yes, a big shoes to fill. For sure. No pressure. But with Malia guiding you, I'm sure you'll do fine. So what do you guys have for us for updates?
Yeah, I just wanted to let him kind of get into it.
I was waiting for the punchline. It's very
The middle school play is tonight, if anybody after this wants to go downstairs.
Yeah, I think the play is happening tonight. We just had the history and field trip for the JCS, which was fun. I met around 40 third graders yesterday. A lot. Covering from that a little bit, to be honest with you. Oh yeah, the 8th grade tour and panelists today. You are on that.
I was on the panel, yeah.
Careful, I have one of those.
I feel like they were excited, I guess, to come a little bit. It took a little convincing, but I feel like they're ready to come up.
And same for 3rd and 5th grade too. They're also starting their it's cute because I remember when I was in 5th grade going into middle school. It seemed like the biggest school in the world.
Right? Got it? All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, move on to the next agenda item, the Pre-Apprentice Program. This is proven to students.
Here's a PowerPoint.
Yeah, so, along with me, I have, come on, I'll be tight. This is Eva, this is Ryan, PJ, and Devin. They were part of the program that we brought into the high school the week of May 23rd. And it is from the Mass COT program, fully funded through them. And we were looking for opportunities to give students who were looking to go into the union, go into the workforce right after high school, maybe go to college a little bit later, but maybe go into one of those fields right after high school. And we brought in the program, and is the just oh, sorry, Karen. So again, it's fully funded. The students didn't pay for it. We didn't pay for it, but you're allowed 15 to 20 students to go through the program, and there are huge benefits for students that do outstanding in the program, which you have some of the students here that were qualified as outstanding. So some of those benefits are, if they end up going into the apprenticeship program for one of the unions, they get 30 credit hours. They also get any resume services. They help them get jobs. They help them get jobs, mock interviews, any of that sort of stuff. They also will pay for any sort of licenses that they're interested in. So hoisting licenses, drone licenses, the CDL license, any of that sort of thing. The program is also partnered with, I wrote it down because I wouldn't remember it, UMass Transportation, Bay State Roads. So any classes that they want to further their education with or take classes there will be fully paid for as well. So it's like,
Wait 1 second, I apologize. It's just not coming up, so I'm just gonna check with them. See if they can see it.
okay, I can see it online.
Sure, I can see it.
I can see the picture of all the students with the bulldozer in the back.
Yeah, that's the first picture.
I'm pulling it up right now.
So if you want to continue while we're waiting for the presentations.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like I said,
Can you, excuse me, Sherry, can you turn off your camera?
And I?
Yes, just turn off your camera for a second. There we go.
okay, so these are all the students that were part of the pre-apprenticeship program. So next. And again, this was kind of what I was talking about. So it's 4 full days of instruction. One day they did go on a field trip to Hopkinton, to the Labor Safety Academy up there. And again, it's 15 to 20 students. And they were given all the PPE that they would need, the hard hat, safety glasses, work gloves, safety vest, equipment bag, the whole program itself, everything, like I said, was fully funded. And that's just a quick schedule of what the week was. So Monday, the intro, they went over their resumes, updated those. They went over work zone safety. Tuesday, they did construction math, surveying. The students all got their PPE. Wednesday, they went on a field trip. Thursday, they got their CPR first aid training, and then Friday was all hands-on concrete work. So, next. And then these were the benefits that I was saying before. They get 30 hours of credit towards the first year's class if they get into one of the labor's apprenticeship programs. Outstanding graduates get a 4-week paid co-op, possibly with a highway or maintenance department. And then the program graduates are eligible for all of those employment opportunities, the resume review, interview preparation, all of that. And then again, like I was saying, the Class B CDL license, the hoisting drone, and other training programs. So a lot of benefits. Next. Then you guys talk. These are just some pictures of what they were doing for all the week.
The first day was really just getting to know each other, and we did resumes, which really, I think, helped. It showed us where to go to get into the workforce and when. He provided us with dates and locations, as well as he helped us make resumes and have those resumes revised by other people, so that we could really see what we should put on it, references and experience, and what would be relevant to getting into the workforce, which I thought was really helpful, just because a lot of people don't know where to go to actually get into the construction business, to get into a labor union. Because a lot of construction is just knowing people. So once you are given those connections, given those phone numbers, it's a lot easier to get started.
So do you guys all now have ready resume to go?
Yes.
And you guys or like reached out and made connections and have any like interviews or
Yeah,
anything
we
coming
all
up?
have, I believe it's Dr. Turner in that picture up there. We all have his contact information as well as some of his contacts. And he's somebody who will stay connected with them as long as they stay connected for years. There was a
Past
Past-
student from
past
Southeastern.
that lives in Norton.
I work for him, and they're gonna pay for his CDLB.
But he was, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah,
was in
5, 6
school?
years ago.
So,
Now, is there anything, I know, is there a certain age limit for this? Like, do you have to be 18 to get some of these licenses? So you might have to wait a
yes,
little bit?
so the program is for juniors to seniors. They prefer seniors because they can take you right after the program into the workforce. But absolutely juniors, getting them involved. And then sometimes they actually, like, if you're doing junior year and they come back, you would senior year again. So there's that opportunity. So, okay.
This day, we basically were learning how to use the tripods, how to set them up. So you learn how to keep the tripod level. And then we used the this little camera that you see on top of the tripod. That is the level that you use to survey the land. We had to do an X mark. So that basically that mark is your starting mark, and then you have to use all these other marks. And then we had to measure the land and then survey it. So, and then we all got tested on it, so we put it up on a whiteboard, everybody scored, and they based it off of who did the best. So on that day we learned a lot, and that day actually helped us out pretty much because we got to use the equipment, we got to go hands-on, which I feel is very important for us because it teaches us how they work at a site and how the beginning of the site just starts, and it's very neat for us. It gives us great opportunities in the future.
And it was a really good day as well. A number of the groups almost hit perfect marks on it. So when I walked in to kind of check the group, there were all circles, and there were a couple groups that were completely perfect. And Mr. Lemon pulled me aside. He said, "I want you to know all those circles there. That's unbelievable." I had to take a screenshot and send it to Jeff because he's like, I've never seen anything like this. So the kids did an amazing job with it.
I think one of the important things is we are the first non-vocational public high school to go through the program. So I'm even more impressed that these are not students who had, that experience before. That this was all right from their knowledge.
And that's something I forgot to say at the beginning. We typically would not have had this program, been able to come into Norton, but because of Chapter 74 classes, we were able to bring it in. We're the only school, public school, non-tech school that has ever had a program. And because of us, they've gotten a couple calls. So, it was great.
And how many students were in it?
15.
And was that the max, or we took that 30?
We could have gone, no, 20 is max. 20 is what they will take.
I mean, I saw this in the packet and I was kind of excited because my son is in the grades. And at graduation, I met one of the graduates of this program. He was ecstatic that he had another option. So I think this is great. I think this is something we need to look to try to keep up with.
So, field trip day,
We just kind of went to the training facility and talked about a lot of the renovations they're having. And actually a lot of stuff that you just talked about was being used on construction sites. And then we just kind of built the little big machine.
you guys had to do the water test,
Yeah, we had to pick up a pallet with it and all after that. And you take it back now.
which they made me do too. Not quite, but almost. Yes. Yeah. And then the last 2 days, they all were certified CPR training and first aid, and then this is the concrete day.
So the concrete day, we all got a concrete bag, all the tools and equipment to make a little standing platform of concrete. We poured it, mixed it and everything, and then we got to actually keep the concrete after we poured.
So they learned to build the forms, they did all the cutting and all the calculations. No, after you sent that email, I went out and I asked all the janitors, Mr. Sumner, like the office, and it was like gone. And then I even went after school and asked the construction workers that were like working on the track. I was like, do you know where it went? And they were like, I don't know why I would know where that went.
Don't have the skills, just make it right.
Next. And this is just more concrete work. So, Steve had come and helped us, and we were just outside, and it was basically a whole day project, but completely hands-on. They had to do all math calculations by hand. They were not allowed calculators, cell phones to use, any of that. So now they're actually applying everything that they're learning in math and in their algebra classes to real life situations. So that was a huge benefit for them to see. Next. And then these are all the graduates. His name was Mr. Lemon, so they
Lemon dog.
yes, and they gave him a bunch of lemons, but that is all of them. So
That's specialized messages.
but within that week, they were able to form like these great connections as well. And again, these two are men that will, if they remain connected with them, they will do whatever they can. So one of the things like the CDL license or the hoisting license, he said the first time you take it, we know you're going to fail it. It's a hard license to get, but they're willing to pay, and they'll just pay. And if you stay connected with them, like the example PJ gave, that person owns his own business, and he found out about the connection. He goes, hey, does he have the CDL license, right?
Yeah.
He was like, does he have a CDL license? I don't know. He goes, find out. Tell him if he doesn't have it, I'll pay it for it. He hadn't talked to that gentleman in like 5 years. And so it's a great connection to have. So next. And then these are just some of the things that the students had said. So I don't know, I know you had a comment, DJ, comment about just how you guys felt. Like, it was worth it, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's more important to the public schools than the vocational schools, because the vocational school kids aren't going to take it as seriously as the public school kids were, because they get the opportunity all the time for this. They get their co-ops, they get all this stuff, they get set up out of school. But this with the public schools, you don't ever see this happening. You won't ever get set up like this.
But I mean, I think construction as a whole is somewhat recession. There's always a need. So I think it's a tremendous career opportunity that, you know, people are seeing the trades change now, that the trades are more needed now than they have been in the past. So it's a great opportunity for you guys. So it's only it's a good one. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they were talking about starting off some of the outstanding students, if they were able to get in, you'd start out at like 45,000. And he said within 2 years, we potentially be getting you up to like over 100. And I was like, well, I probably should have gone in there.
I think we're all having a career.
So, I don't know, do you have any questions?
No, but I can just make a quick comment. I think that one of the things that we strive to always do is be leaders in sort of a lot of different aspects of public education. So a huge thank you for really finding an opportunity for, once again, Norton to kind of start this trend, because my guess is that other high schools are going to be following in the footsteps. So, whoever brought it to the school, whoever found it and kind of brought it to the school, huge thank yous.
It was Ms. Brooke. She found it, she asked if we could do it, feel supported it.
And it's pretty, I mean, it fits perfectly to the whole idea of the pathways that we're talking about. One, thank you, already approved. So Ms. came to actually to Mr. Cersei, and Mr. Cersei came to me in the fall and said, hey, what do you think? And it's only a week, so it really became my job to just make sure the administrators recognize the flexibility that was needed for both the school and the student schedule, right? Because they were pulled out of their classes for that entire week. And if anything, there's probably motivational to catch up on any work or anything. Because we hope to do this. We have a follow-up next week or the week after with the focus on the other end of this to really formalize this into something a little bit more.
There's some more opportunities that we can bring in, more things, programs, like even week-long things in the summer and different things like that.
And I think that's what we're always trying to do, is to meet individual needs, and we talk about that a lot, is that there's sort of this preconceived idea, I think a lot of times, that students who are in high school should automatically and immediately go to college. And I'm not sure that that is the option for all students. And I think just sort of something that we've talked about for a few years now is what other opportunities can we offer to our students to let them know that there are other options, and really good options. So this is just one of those opportunities that I really appreciate you discovering and introducing to our campus. So.
One of the things that's really interesting, I went outside the day of the masonry where you guys were, or out there put together the boxes and all that. I think I told a couple of you the other day, right before town meeting. I mean, Mr. Lemdog, he literally treats them without any swearing or inappropriate language like they're on a construction site. I mean, he's just letting them know, hey, that is not the right way to do that, and it's not monotone. It's let's get this done the right way. So I appreciated that the students were kind of like, hey, this was a great week to just learn how the real world in a laborer type of situation. Best comment for me is the student that said this was the best week of school ever. I mean, if that's not motivational, that's kind of cool. So I hope you guys.
The juniors that are in the program, if they do get those benefits, now going into senior year, they already have a plan. They already have something going out, which is great. It's not going into senior year, I don't know what I'm going to do, or I need to try to. They already have this plan, they have these connections, and they can formulate something. And there's also job opportunities that you guys were presented for summer, potential to apply for. So it's great.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you so much. Good job. Really good job. You did a lovely job. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is a vote to appoint a school committee member to the capital improvement committee. You already read that. So is there a motion or an individual who would like to be considered? Sherry, we're all looking at you.
I can tell you're all looking at me. Yeah, I'll do it again.
I would nominate Sherry Cohen.
I'll second the nomination.
All those in favor to appoint Sherry Cohen to capital improvement?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next item is, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Next item is for Mr. Cersey, discussion on transition specialists and paraprofessional tutors.
And Ms. Russo's
Ms. Russo, sorry, Casey.
That's okay.
I'm actually going to let Ms. Russo start, and then we'll fill in.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you so much. So we are proposing a new job description for a transition specialist / special education teacher, as well as a paraprofessional job coach. Students who have disabilities or who are on an IEP we're required to look at post-secondary opportunities for them starting at the age of 14. And it is really not so much a mandate, but a strongly suggested requirement to have a transition specialist in the school system to help those students prepare for post-secondary life, whether that be college, career, or preparing for adult services for those of our students who are there until 22, their 22nd birthday. So we're proposing that we had posted for a 0.5 transition specialist originally, and we got a whopping 0 applicants for that position. So it's a little difficult, but we were able to attend and collaborate with some other districts in the area who have actually done this previously, worked to create a combined transition specialist / special education position. And the person works not only with the students on their caseload, but a lot of the other kiddos who are working on their transition goals as well, doing the transition assessments to help clear and define that pathway that they want to pursue based upon their interests, their ability levels, things along those lines. Really working with adult service agencies to help collaborate and connect and build those bridges for them once they leave Norton High School. Again, whether that be community college, 4-year college, employment, or again, like I said, going off to those adult day programs, helping with independent living skills, all those kinds of things. The person would also be responsible for the step out classroom. So really being the liaison for the students in our 18 to 22 program, really focusing on more of those independent living skills, those IADLs as we call them, independent activities of daily living, preparing for post-secondary work, and taking the focus more away from the classroom setting and really putting it toward the functional skills that we should be looking at for those kiddos, or young adults, I should say. We currently do transition assessments with our special educators. This would take a little bit of that load off of their shoulders and really have just one person doing those assessments, being able to specialize in that role. And we've also done some transition assessments that we've had to contract out for more specialized stuff, and we're hoping that this will alleviate that as well for our transition specialists to be able to really hone in on certain skills and things along those lines. And then to go along with that, we've had 2 paraprofessionals in the Step Out program currently, but really wanting to make one of those people a job coach, again focusing on more of those adult focused skills, less of the high school student academic type focus, but really working on those job readiness skills, how the personal hygiene stuff, working on the punctuality and effective communication, modeling all of those things for the person. But the biggest thing here would be that the individuals, both the transition specialist and the job coach, we would request they get mandate that they get a 7D license. Our students in the transition ages really should be getting out more often, working in the community, doing volunteer work, getting exposed to different settings. Now that we're hopefully over the hump of COVID, we can start getting out and doing those things again. They had been previously doing that prior to COVID, and we would like for them to get back into that role. We've been able to collaborate and connect with some people at the League School and in other local districts that have really made some great connections with vocational opportunities for their students, and they've been very forthcoming in sharing those with us and giving us some good connections as well. So really just trying to build on that independence level of our students, kind of tag teaming off of what Ms. Prue's been doing with the vocational piece on her end, but doing it through the special education aspect for us.
I think one of the other things that the person will be responsible is making those connections to community agencies. So we do have some relationships with like Attleboro Enterprises, and we'll start to do some of this work, but making those connections, building that strength here in the school system, but then making those connections for families as these students turn 22 and move forward. And really developing the collaborative relationships that is just harder to do if that isn't your focus. So having this be their focus, I think, will not just support our students while they're with us, but honestly will support their transition and what they do as they enter their adult years. It really supports the families as they have to navigate a pretty tricky adult system. So there'll be that piece of it. The other piece of that is, as Casey said, we do hope to have, we need these folks to have a 7D license. We're going to advertise when we do our job search for that. Hopefully we'll get somebody, but that may be something to just be forthcoming that we may have to support financially in order for them to get that, depending on who gets to buy. But it's a relatively small price tag for what we're going to be able to do with this. And we're not adding staff. Sort of reorganizing.
Sure. Any questions from the committee? So can we talk about costs? You want to just kind of go over that?
Yeah, so in general, what you're looking at, because everything's done internally, as you know, we posted as part of our operational budget, the 0.5 position. So what we're going to see here is a savings, probably if the person gets the 7, we can get the person with the 70, probably be a positive to the budget of about $10,000. So could be a little bit more, if the person doesn't pass the test the first time, we have to do a second reimbursement, but we feel comfortable. I appreciate very much the special education department doing this because it is a opportunity for our students, number one, just for the general public to know, since we're also being taped. Public schools have a responsibility for certain populations of students until the age of 22. Just want to make sure that everybody knows that. This is not something that we're trying to create. This is our responsibility for state law and federal law, and getting these students out to the potential community college or 4-year school specialized programs. As you heard a few years ago before COVID, we have students that are going off to one of the local colleges. connection. And right now, with so many businesses really hurting for employment locally, that could be very fruitful for our students in this particular age. And to be mindful, the classrooms part of this is that this starts at 14, right? It doesn't start when they're 18. This is something that as they're coming into the 9th grade, really the 8th and 9th grade, start to that process. So net to the district budget, very positive. Net to the ability to meet a best practice for these students that we'll be servicing is also very positive.
And I should say the transition specialist is not mandated. However, the activities that they're going to be doing are mandated. So somebody has to do it. This is just somebody who's specialized.
Both of these positions are, as you know, by the titles, teacher, para, ARU positions in the district. The job descriptions have been shared with the NTA. The NTA has endorsed them as published tonight.
And that's how they, as Casey would strongly recommend. You don't have to have
You don't have to have it.
but you have something to do with it by law, so.
You don't have to have it, but if you don't have it, you're gonna be in trouble when we come see you.
So so there's, in my last district, this was a big deal, many years ago, but it's still the same audit report. What happens is they audit you for it, and then when something happens with the Office of Civil Rights, this is one of the things that they come after. And I say, well, you didn't do that part, and you should have had somebody in charge of that, and so on and so forth. So they follow that. I do need a vote because it is specific to the job description, and that is in control of the school.
Any other questions, comments?
How many students would the transition specialist have on their caseload? I'm not got specific numbers, but
Yeah, so in terms of the classroom setting, there is currently 4 students in that step out classroom. So 4 students that we have between the ages of 18 and 20 in their 22nd birthday. But then they would theoretically be working with all of our students on IEPs at the high school level at some point, which is a significant number. I think it's about 110.
I'm a little confused. So are these both new positions, or are they both kind of more of a reorg?
It's essentially it's a reorg.
Okay.
We had a step out teacher,
Yep.
And that person is going to take on the transition specialist role. And then the job coach is a paraprofessional position that has a little bit more responsibilities to do some of that vocational work, pursue some of those pieces. So it's a little bit of a reorganization of the special ed department in terms of both the step out and step up kids, but also are some of the work that our inclusion teachers now will have a specialist doing those transition assessments, and that's where we say, well, if we have to 100 kids, they can get a form of transition support.
I guess my last one is, have we brought in any parents or CPAC in terms of talking to them and seeing
Yeah,
what
the
their
CPAC has been made
Yes,
aware.
CPAC is on board with this, yes.
Anything else? Mrs. Cohen, did you have anything?
I do not.
All right, at this time, entertain a motion to approve the transition specialist / special education teacher and paraprofessional job coach descriptions as they are presented. So moved. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
How you doing?
All right, next item is a vote to approve the FY23 budget.
So as per every year, once town meeting is over, which this year was late or later than usual, the school committee has to revote its budget that has been provided by the town meeting. That budget is now set at $32,915,996, or an increase of $645,412. Your recommended budget was $1,560,926. Therefore, we have to absorb $915,414 in cuts. We will zero out the federal grant at $500,000. That will take care of all of those grants that we received throughout the last 18 months. And then we have informed the permanent subs 10 buildings that they are at this time laid off, $250,000. and then we had a student information system at 60,000 that we are not going to go forward with. And we had numerous support contracts, Let's Talk, ClearGov, Leadership PD, college career readiness, library, and non-highly used software that will make up for the other 140,414, thereby zeroing out the budget. And to your comment, you'll get a line item budget after this approval that shows all these changes. The number on the bottom will be the same as the one that you voted tonight.
Should we just, I don't know the line item, hold on, maybe one line.
Yes, yep, give it to you. Yep. We'll give you the line item budget and with a memo attached to what those changes were.
I mean, I'll be the one that's like 18 pages, 17.
Yeah. We'll send you. We'll send you the email on which one you want. If you want both, we'll give you both. If you only want the one page, we'll give you the
Yeah,
one
it's
page.
on the page.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay, that's all.
Any other questions or comments on the budget? Anyone? Yes. Just state your name and address.
Chuck Gallagher, 201 Bay Road. I'm just curious as to what has happened between last year, the last budget and this budget, for it to go up so high. I mean, all those contracts, those raises, it seems like an awful lot of money. Can you just give an idea of what?
Sure. So the mandated, the total increase to the budget for the town is 2%. The mandated part of the budget itself is 2.33. So right off the bat, the mandated, so this would be ELL 504 special education is already not fully funded, and I'm federally required, the state required to federally fund that budget. The general education budget, meaning everything else, excluding transportation, which was up less than, I think, 0.19%. The total is about 60,000. I have to transport the kids. I don't have a choice in that contract. And then all of the general education requirements that go into the regular general education have to absorb the remaining amount. So we took the federal grant to take up 50% of that, and the 414,000 really comes out of what would be general education, because I am not allowed to touch the mandated. I can't cut, for example, a special education teacher that's giving direct services to students, because then I violate civil rights. So the direct impact is district-wide. We are not laying off any teachers in the classroom, but what we did is we took all of our teachers that cover on absences and so on. They're called permanent substitutes. Those folks were all relieved of their duties at this time. Things changed throughout the summer because of people moving, saving money because people move and all of that, and we'll probably at some point have to have some type of substitutes in our role. So that's the general.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't see financially, what is wrong about $600,000?
All of our contracts and all of our special education costs. For example, I have an increase of from last year to this year of students that go out of district of 12%. So if I have $1.2 million worth of students out of district, add another 12% to that from last year to this year. So every line item that we have that are mandated services, I have to cover those. I can only cover those by either getting more money or by taking it from other accounts within the operating budget.
How many students are going out of district?
We have 33 students out of district currently. As many as 60.
How much were out of district last contract?
We had 33 last year. We have 33 currently. Again, that number can change. The number of students going out of district is day to day. From the day that we voted this budget and it got sent to the town before town meeting, we had an out-of-district placement that is costing us over $200,000 a year starting from July 1st. We have no other way except to pay that bill. You can't go to the state for it. You can't, so on and so forth. So that's what happens with these costs. A few years ago, we had 8 students move into town during the months of July and August that cost us $800,000. So we basically took from other line items, zeroed them out, everything from paper and software, personnel, if needed, and then went back to the town for some more of those funds. Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented.
So moved.
Second. Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next item agenda item, summer transfers, Mr. Wells.
Yes, so, first day regulations, the school committee has to vote in transfers, that occur between, expenses and salary accounts. It's our annual request to, for a vote of approval to allow us to make those transfers between now and July 15th, which is the end of the fiscal year, to be able to balance out these accounts.
So this is just moving like A to B.
Yes, yeah. Right. Bottom line does not change, it's just balancing out the.
Finding out. Questions, comments?
Do we have an idea on what we'd be taking from more to replace something with? Would it be more from line items to salaries or salaries to?
No idea at this point. We have three more payrolls this year. One of them is the final payroll of the year, which is the largest payroll we do. It's $5.5 million roughly. So once that closes out, that gets us closer to understanding what our transfers are going to be. But again, we're still waiting to receive May bills for all kinds of expenses. Right now, we only have April bills that are kind of finalized. So we still have to see May and June.
So this is a one-time vote that will kind of let you do your thing.
Yeah, unless we close the year out, so so the town can close, they can start their movement on certified for cash, and we can close out the year and start moving.
All set?
Motion to approve?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the superintendent's evaluation. So this evaluation is for 2 years. Yep. So this is superintendent's evaluation. We as a school committee will each are given a packet. So some of the comments, or I should say, professional goals, student goals, district goals were all met. As step 2, assess performance on standards. Standard 1, instructional leadership. Standard 2, management and operations. Standard 3, family and community engagement. Standard 4, professional culture. Instructional leadership was proficient. The remainder were exemplary. Overall, the summary of performance was exemplary by the committee. Do you want me to read the comments?
It's your decision, you're the evaluators.
Some of the comments that were set by the committee are sent in. Dr. Bennett does an excellent job of managing our district. We're lucky to have him. Progressive, creative, and intelligent leader. Collaboration with all aspects of town management. Supports every child academically and socially. Under Joe's leadership, NPS continues to be a quality, academically, and emotionally strong institution. Dr. Bennett has led the district through some extraordinary times in the last few years. All of the decisions were made in the best interests of students and staff. In these challenging times, Dr. Bennett has continued to seek the brightest and best for positions at NPS. Continues to prove NPS is one of the best districts in the area. Superintendent's performance goals, student learning goal, professional practice goal, district improvement goal 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ensures effective and timely supervision of evaluation of all staff in alignment with state regulations and contract provisions. That was met. Ensures effective and timely supervision and evaluation of all staff in alignment with state regulations and provisions. Was met. Ensures all instructional staff design effective, rigorous standards-based units of instruction. Was met. Ensures all practice and all settings reflect high expectations regarding content and quality of work, engaging all students, and personalized to accommodate diverse learning styles, needs, interests, and levels of readiness. Was met. Implements a cohesive approach to recruiting, hiring, induction, development, and career growth. Was also met. Let's see, instructional leadership, curriculum, instruction, assessment, evaluation, and data-informed decision-making, student learning. Curriculum was proficient, instruction was proficient, assessment was exemplary, evaluation was proficient, data-informed decision-making was exemplary, overall rating was proficient. Some of the comments: you were successful in making the procedures are followed, empowering individuals to solve their problems at individual levels first. Generally put the right people in the right positions to maintain successful teaching, learning, outcomes, and expectations, supports our budget's bottom line. Strengths include instructional learning walks and classroom visits, leadership discussions about classroom accountability, using surveys and portals to continue to assess needs and accountability. Dr. Baird is a hands-on leader that makes sure he visits all of the schools, even going so far as to sub into classrooms if needed. Dr. Baird empowers his staff to problem solve issues that arise in their buildings. He has continued to surround himself with some top-tier administrative staff and continues to stress accountability in the district. As far as management and operations, all categories were exemplary, which were environment, human resource management, development, scheduling, law, ethics, and policies, fiscal systems. Dr. Bader continues to look outside the box to find creative ways to bring money into the district to fill our otherwise pronounced budget gap, as we saw because we just voted. You continually put the right people in the right positions to have positive effects to the budget and maintain successful teaching and learning outcomes. Legal accountability, depth of knowledge, has led us through multiple projects, including Doors and Windows, our current train project, our current athletic complex, and our hopefully over COVID-19 pandemic. He has looked to become a leading district in responding to social and emotional needs of students and staff. Lastly, for comments and analysis, continues to go above and beyond for all families and staff, supports delivery of services, including school resource officer positions, transportation, athletics, one-to-one technology, internet connectivity, student safety via home visits by staff, and if necessary himself. Has had multiple parents' forums to address concerns as addressed. He is available for conversations, even tough ones, parents, staff, members of the school committee. He can be regularly seen at school and town events. Dr. Bader enjoys engaging with the students through his superintendent-led student group. He hears what the students' concerns are and looks for ways to address them. Dr. Baird has made NPS a better place for all and has done routinely with a tight budget and making tough budget decisions every year about staff supplies as he carefully considers the impacts to the district. That is any comments?
I have a few questions. Just I'm new to the process here. I obviously abstain from voting to doing an evaluation. I don't think it's fair to be where I am. The second piece of that is it just us who evaluates, or the teachers and admin also have an evaluation process?
Only you by that.
So only us by that. Okay. That was it?
No, it requires a vote of the committee, thanks to the committee, my staff, administrators, community. There's nothing better than being in a public forum and being told how good or bad you are. It's the only employee, it's the only place, it's the only public employee in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the superintendent school that has a town manager. Everybody else is personnel record, so it always makes you feel kind of locked about it. But it's a good working district. My own child attends this district, so I think that speaks volumes to what I think about it. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but we have a lot of things to address. But I think that future looks good. I think coming out of this pandemic situation will only move us forward to address all the other issues that need to be addressed, and then begin working. Probably on July 1st, begin working on the FY24 budget, because I think that's going to be a very difficult year for public entities in general, police, fire, and schools, because of the amount of federal money that's come in that's going to be going out the door and not available. And then lastly, the general process after this kind of cycle will be that I will present to you all brand new goals, brand new initiatives in terms of the things to do over the next 2 years, and including the new strategic plan. We'll have that for the fall, and that'll be a major part of the next 4 years, and you'll vote on that as well. We'll be getting back to school food planning, coming out of this whole COVID situation and planning for that as well. So I think the committee.
All right, so this was provided to the committee, so hopefully you've had a chance to read it. So at this time, entertain a motion to approve the evaluation as presented. So moved. In a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Thanks.
So a couple things. This is our last school committee meeting of this school year. We're all almost there. Students and staff, so, at this point, is there any other business?
I just have brief general statements. There'll be an information going out about Friday the 17th and Monday the 21st, being K-12 early the next day. Sorry, Tuesday the 21st, because we have to close on the 20th in celebration of Sunday the 19th. So we do have to come back to school on the 21st. So that Friday and that Sunday will be half days. To my left, I want to thank Matt for his service to us over the last 4 years as he moves on to another district. You're going away party gifts. Here's the pink tag.
You want us to sign it back for you?
The other thing is I want to wish the kids and parents a really good summer, safe summer, and I want to thank my staff all across the district, all employees, from our bus drivers, custodial, administrative assistants, paras, teachers, food services, all of their private guys that they do a great job for us. And then we'll be moving into July 5th, the beginning of ESY, our extended school year program that Casey and Vinny oversee. So everybody have a safe summer. It's due on Tuesday the 6th for grades 1 to 12, and kindergarten starts on the 7th.
On the 8th.
On the 8th. Yeah, everybody is staggered in that week.
Does anybody on the committee have anything to add?
Yeah, one thing from the permanent building committee with the town that was, the liaison to, if you will. Met with them on Monday night, went really well. Updated them with the athletic fields and whatnot. Just a few concerns as far as town hall goes. The developers have it at about $3 million over budget right now due to inflation. Every cost, so they're kind of looking to hopefully cut some areas, try not to cut the structure so much and, reduce square footage. So trying to find some other areas that way. So,
Do you know what the total cost that was? Does anybody know? Where's the total cost?
For some reason 31 sticks out in my head, but that could be way off too.
I say 32, so we're pretty close.
Okay.
So 10%.
I thought it was 22 and 11.
Yeah, and
Yeah, then
I think that's right. It's more 22 and 11, but 13. Yeah.
And you put in a good buffer, but unfortunately the buffer wasn't enough to get it. No one expected this. So, then my one other thing here that I have is I want to talk about policy around lawn signs and around school property. Obviously, I know this is coming where we have lawn signs on our school property. I want to be clear that this come to my attention due to the fact that these signs are not from Norton Public Schools. My concern is that we don't have some type of policy in place and we could open a floodgate of all the private groups and organizations to ask us to promote on their behalf. This could be problematic because it's becomes a very hard spot to say no to some groups and yes to others. Ultimately it's hard to put a value on one group organization over another, and not all of our groups may fully directly align with Norton Public Schools belief. I did send along to the school committee and school admin the U.S. Supreme Court decision of Shurtleff, I believe that's how you say it, versus the City of Boston as a point of potential reference. The City of Boston violated the First Amendment due to the Supreme Court ruling for refusing to fly one flag while allowing others. Though I know this is on a much larger scale, we could be opening ourselves to potential issues in the future. I'm the type of person who likes to be proactive rather than potentially reactive, especially as a district. We did talk to legal counsel. They sent us over some options, and one of the best options that I thought would fit very well for a new policy around lawn signs, banners, stuff like that on school property and on town property as well. Which reads something along these lines. Norton Public Schools will not allow any outside group or community member to post any signs on school property. All signs must be furnished and have tie back to educational learning and or promoting school-sponsored events. With a little star in there, except obviously on election day, since we do open our schools for those. All signs must be approved by the Norton School Committee prior to being placed. What I would suggest is I would like to make a motion to adopt the sign policy as stated and make it effective July 1st, 2022. So we kind of go into the new fiscal year with a new policy in place. That's it.
Yeah, I want to table that until we can actually read through it and think about it. I don't want to vote right away.
Do we have any discussion?
We can discuss that. I don't think it's a bad idea to have a policy. And this is not me saying I don't like your policy, but I want to read through it and think about it before I just vote it on. Nick knows that, and there are lawn signs there, and Nick knows that I somewhat disagree that this is the same case as that Supreme Court decision. It is these signs that we have now, were donated by an individual. We took them and we decided we put them up there. So I don't think we're necessarily open to the same legal exposure. I think council, when they gave that opinion, did not know all the facts. So I don't think that currently we have the exposure, but going forward, I think it's actually fine to have a policy. And if you want to circulate that to us, we can take a look at it.
Yeah, I would definitely say in regards to policy, we would need to table it. We couldn't motion and vote it tonight because there is required by law to have 2 readings and 2 separate meetings. So if we look at potentially working on this over the summer, we could potentially have a first reading in the fall. We decide what policy to adopt. But as far as motioning and voting tonight, it can't be adopted.
If it's the wishes of the committee, I can work with Nick on trying to attempt to utilize his language. As I said in the email, any other language that folks have around. There is an advertising policy, but this is not the same thing because you got to word it in a way that, for example, ITech, does that have to come to the school committee to be approved? It's a community-based program that fundraises for the community. So and you can't have a policy that's going to have, really can't have a policy with exclusion, so you got to make it some type of connection. So if it's educational or connected to the mission or connected to football, there's got to be, like football signups would have to come to you guys. Right. So we have to find that.
Because we don't read over the summer. And if we're going to take a look at it, it's probably more comprehensive than just the nonsense. It should be something that we're thinking about beyond just our front foot.
Well, I think they suggested like banners, for example, come up. So, for example,
no, I'm talking about. So I think you read it fairly quickly, but I think it kind of limited to what we would put a display outside of the school.
I was thinking more outside of the school because outside of the school to me starts representing the town as well. Because it is town property.
So if we're gonna make a policy, we should make it comprehensive. There's no reason not to make it comprehensive at this point, rather than do it piecemeal. Because things are gonna come up. It is what it is, right? So if you want to take a stab at it with Joe, then it works with me.
So the other thing too is I just did some trying to figure out when I have that from Nick. I started to kind of see like what communities have in schools, just community, because so I think one of the things we have to look at is also the is there language in the bylaws of the town of Norton around lawn signs? So there are communities that have that. I don't know that all communities do. I just saw some of the communities on the list that have.
They're restricted from putting any lawn signs on?
They're restricted. They're either restricted to only private homes or they're restricted to non-for-profit organizations that meet the goals of A, B, C, D, E, that type of stuff. So there are communities that do that.
Or something.
Right. So like Arlington, and they just have like an A, B, C. This is what is accepted by the select board and the school committee. And it's kind of like a one. It's what's done to the town, regardless.
So can I just add to that as well? I have some real concerns about the policy, or Nick, how you kind of read it there, because we've got to think about some other signs. I know you mentioned ITAC, but when we lost Deputy Chief Peterson, we had a sign up supporting him. When we lost a student, Gabriella, we had a sign up supporting her, so and her family. So I I think that we really need to think long and hard about this, because at the end of the day, we're all about supporting our students, our families, and I think limiting it, I think we have to put some serious consideration into this. I'll just leave it at that, because I definitely have some concern.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my bigger concern is it's not the sign right now. Right? Not, I don't want it to come off that way, because I'm fully in support. What I'm afraid of is opening that can of worms. Now, what is the next sign? And then we're all going to be trying to sit here, trying to be like, oh, we're going to allow this sign, but we're not going to allow that sign, and so on and so forth. And then when does it stop, and how does it end? You know, so I get that's my bigger concern is, you know, again, I completely agree with you with, you know, some of the community aspects and things that we need. That's why I think putting something in there that must be approved by Norton School Committee gives us the ability to say, hey, this makes sense. You know, obviously too, I think Tommy Peterson, we could tie back very easily to the schools, being a coach on football and helping out within the community as well. Obviously students, you know, student passing away, obviously is another one, but I just think we need to be very careful in terms of what we are promoting, on school grounds, because again, it is a public entity, and you know, we don't want to make it look like we're favoring one group over another. So,
Alright, so I think the plan for this, if you agree, is something you can work on and bring to us in the fall. And again, you know, we'll have to go through.
You have to do 2 readings. You got to send it to legal, which is not that difficult. I mean, legal will probably, maybe they already have some that would fit the wishes of the committee. I don't know. Again, that's something you can work on. I'm happy to do it and get the information and get the decisions up that it wants to use.
Well, I mean, my concern, just to not before we put this to bed, is we may have to make it such that it has to be approved by the superintendent in case we're not meeting. You know, for example, like if someone wanted to put something up in the summer, we don't have any meetings scheduled, we would have to, you know, enable them, so that could be a consideration.
Sure. Yeah, that would be your. So just think about the fundraisers that are done at the local level by a school. JCS has a fundraiser, or LGM, Harrington has a fundraiser. They put out some on-sites. Now we have to go through the process, potentially, of either that's considered educational because they have the PTO, TA, so it doesn't matter. So we'll have to come up with
I think it's some work to do.
The online comments are suggesting, well, that could take time, and then the fundraising gets held back because of it.
What would the process be?
Correct. I think I completely agree. You can definitely take the process, but I think like the JCS fun run, that's a school-sponsored event. I don't think that would technically, based on what I'm thinking right now, that would need our approval because that's school sponsored. You know, it's just like if we were gonna do a football game. You know, same idea that hey, we're doing homecoming, we can throw a homecoming sound out there, and we don't need us because it's from
differentiation between us and sponsors.
Exactly.
And if I can just add, I think that I'm not necessarily opposed to having the superintendent who sort of oversees our schools be the decision maker. I don't know. I know Nick and your sort of proposal, you said the school committee, but I really think that we have a superintendent who should be able to have sort of the authority to make those decisions. I think a policy is fine, but I do wonder if it should be directed to the superintendent and not to the school committee.
Carolyn, it's really no different than like flyers that are submitted, like when there's a flyer for ITAC or anything Park and Rec that we used to do, Nick. We would always send it to Dr. Bayetta for approval, and once he gave approval, then it would go out, then it would go from there. So I agree, Carolyn. I think it makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's some work to do on it. At this point, I think we table it. Work on
But we
it
were
over
able
summer.
to brainstorm some ideas to start, so.
I think the big component would be legal.
Absolutely.
Any other business? If there is anybody that wants to address the meeting, public comments, at this time you will be given 3 minutes on a timer. No statements that are deemed inflammatory will be allowed. State your name and address for the record. Is there anybody that would like to approach?
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is James Thomason. Live here in Norton, 10 James Street. And so maybe to push that ball along a little quicker, that you were just discussing, I would like to propose, based on track record, that signs bearing the Christian flag be placed on all school grounds every year from Palm Sunday through Easter, since the Supreme Court decision that's already been mentioned, and to allow religious speech, which is noted in that decision, is not establishing a religion, but allowing. So since speech has been allowed by a non-school entity, a public civic entity, I would like to request, and I will certainly submit this in writing, that, again, each year, beginning on Palm Sunday and after Easter, that signs of the Christian flag be placed on all school grounds. Christian flag is a blue, a red cross, and a blue background, on a white field, generally accepted. If you've been in churches, I'm sure you've seen those before. So I'd like to make that request based on the Supreme Court decision and the fact that Norton, as you have said, has allowed speech. And the Supreme Court did identify those flags as speech. And since it's allowed non-school entities, civic organizations to speak in this way, we think that
You have 1 minute left.
it opens up also for this flag to be placed in speech. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much, and I'm sure that might light a fire under your policy debate and discussion. Thanks.
Even again, Chuck Gallagher, 201 Bay Road. I concur with what last speaker said. The reason I'm up here is I'm concerned about, I have a daughter that's 7 years old in first grade. And some of the literature that she has access to, I think should be investigated. She brought home 2 books during the school year that, one of them was about a Vietnam veteran, a Marine in Vietnam, getting in firefights, getting shot at in a fighting pool. And I don't think that type of material should be accessible to a first grade. Another book that she brought home was about the Titanic. And one of the sentences says, "The unspeakable shrieking of hundreds of people dying filled the night, frenzied, terrified screams." I don't believe this is material that a first grader should be reading or have access to. I understand the realities of life, and they're going to learn all this stuff, and they should learn all this stuff. But a first grade, a 7-year-old should not be coming home with material like that. So who knows what else is in these libraries? I really think it's important that we start researching the material that's available to these kids. 7-year-olds shouldn't be learning about hundreds of people screaming to death in the middle of the night. With that, I yield the rest of my time to Kelly Gallagher.
I'm going to stop you there.
Can't yield time.
You cannot yield time.
Why not? The policy's on it.
It's at our discretion to speak and you hear for 3 minutes. So if you want to continue, you have 1 minute and 40 seconds. Your
I
way.
think it's appropriate that you dictate the amount of time that I think you cannot give to somebody. You shouldn't have that right to make that decision.
He has
My time, you gave me 3 minutes. You gave me 3 minutes. I took a minute of that, and I gave the other 2 minutes to this woman. And you're not allowing it because you don't want to hear what we want to say. That is the truth.
My name's Kelly Gallagher, 201 Bay Road. I would appreciate some members of the board, particularly on this end, wouldn't laugh when members of the public come up and speak their piece. I think it's very unprofessional and rude. I bring my children to school to learn reading, writing, and math. I never imagined I would be dropping off my children at their preschool and elementary schools, surrounded by signs displaying and promoting sexuality. Does the school committee think it's appropriate to display sexuality signs to our minors? Is it appropriate to display them in elementary schools? Is it appropriate to display a particular political ideology to our children? Why is it so important for this district to share sexuality speech with our little kids? But most importantly, is this legal? There are laws in this state that protect parental rights regarding curriculum involving human sexual or human sexuality issues. I believe this district is violating the parental notification law, also known as Section 32A, which requires you to notify families in writing of this material and requires you to inform families they may exempt their children from such material. I believe by placing these components of the human sexuality curriculum on school grounds in the manner they have been placed, you are unable to comply with the exemption clause of Section 32A and are therefore violating the law. By allowing signs created by a private group of citizens to be posted on school grounds, you have now opened up the district to all private groups being able to display their signs on school property. As we discussed, the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision affirms this. To say I'm disappointed by this district is an understatement. All within the past 6 months, this district introduced videos and pictures to first graders about children changing their gender. Children were illegally tested for COVID by nurses who did not obtain the required parental consent. Children's private medical information was disclosed to their class by their teacher. A disturbing health survey was approved by the school committee and only postponed after a backlash by parents. Barbecue and other flavored crickets, yes, insects, were served to and eaten by elementary students without written parental consent. A school library is unable to provide a list of recent books they ordered, and when the request was adjusted, there was a stipulation of $700 to release that information. You, the school committee, willfully violate your own policies. As someone who deals with regulatory compliance every day, the actions by this district and the lack of transparency are shocking. Our children deserve to have their innocence protected. When I was in elementary school, I never knew if my teachers were married, let alone what their sexual orientation was. I didn't even know what sex was because I was a child, and my parents thankfully gave me the gift of childhood. It's amazing to me that not wanting my young children exposed to gender ideology or sexual content from other adults or strangers is treated as a controversial position. It's my job as a parent to have these discussions with my children. Teaching one philosophy or social ideology to public school students is indoctrination, not education. We, the parents, want our schools to teach our children how to think, not what to think. Can I please respectfully request 15 more seconds?
Ms. Gallagher, your time is up.
Just 10 more seconds, please.
Your time is up. Thank you.
It says right in the school policy and the school committee
Your
policy.
time is up. Thank you.
Don't raise your voice to me, sir. I've been nothing
You've
but
been
polite
told
with you.
twice.
And I'm respectfully asking for 10.
Return to your seat, please.
Don't tell me what to do about returning my seat, sir.
You can return to your seat or you can leave my meeting.
Okay, your meeting. This isn't the people's meeting. This is
I'm
your
running
meeting.
this meeting.
But it's your
Return to your
meeting, not
seat.
the public,
Thank you.
not the taxpayers, not the parents.
Is that your
Thank you for exposing everybody. Exposing yourself to everybody.
Any other business?
Hi, I'm Shannon Taylor. I'm the president of the Northern Teachers Association. This is not about sex or sexuality. This is about identity. MPS strives to maintain an inclusive environment that is safe and supportive for all students. This district also maintains that diversity, equity, and inclusion are an initiative of ours, and it's consistent with our state directives and our curriculum frameworks. We have students, colleagues, and families who are LGBTQ+, and they deserve to know they're learning in an environment that accepts them for who they are without question. Our jobs as educators is to foster a safe and respectful environment, especially for our historically marginalized students and colleagues who face difficulties that others do not. The flags are aligned with our values. This is about empowering students, helping them feel seen and appreciated. It's about helping students see that their community is diverse in ways that they don't always see, and telling them that they are part of the inclusive space. Again, this is not about sex. This is about identity. And I, as a part of the LGBT+ community, am extremely proud to be an educator here in Norton, where diversity, inclusivity, and pride matter, not just on paper, but in practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Okay, if there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion.
Hi, my name is Amy Weber. I am teacher in Norton and vice president of the Norton Teachers Association. And I'm speaking as a parent of an LGBTQ child, who is not a Norton student. I spoke actually to a Norton parent whose children did ask her
what the signs were about. She has a preschooler and a second grader. And I thought she explained in a really age-appropriate way, just said that these signs allow kids to be themselves and show their true colors. My experience is that my son came out in ninth grade with the loving support of his father and myself. It was still an extremely hard time for him. And it continues to not always be easy, but luckily his school community and his hometown have been loving and inclusive. I believe that LGBTQ students need to feel accepted. As Shannon said, it's not about teaching them anything, it's about acceptance. My son thankfully feels accepted in both his school and hometown community, but we obviously have a long way to go. I recently read a book called House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, and I wanted to share this quote with my son and all students who are facing such kind of hate and questioning their place. Hate is loud, but I think you'll learn it is because it is only a few people shouting, desperate to be heard. You might not ever be able to change their minds, but so long as you remember you're not alone, you will overcome. As a teacher in Norton and a parent, I want all my students to feel as supported as my son does. Thank you.
Anyone else? Entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. So, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night. Have a good rest of the school year. Same summer.